Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of Impactful Teamwork. And today I want to go on a slightly different tact. I want to talk a little bit about leadership and beliefs and the things that stop us from becoming the best leader that we can be. And the topic for today has been driven by a couple of things that have been going on recently and a kind of bit of a reflection on what's happened for me on my leadership journey. Because I remember when I first set up my business after I left the corporate world, and I remember thinking, I'm pretty smart. How difficult can it be to run your own business? Oh, what a wide awakening I got. Because what I rapidly realized that actually success in business, success is being a leader within a business, is about 80% mindset and 20% skill set. So let me say that again. I think success in business, whether you're running your own business or you are an employee within an organization, is about 80% mindset and 20% skill set. And what I wasn't prepared for when I set up my own business was the fact it would be my mindset and my beliefs about what was possible that would be influencing and impacting the success of what happened in my business. I've spent a lot of time over the last decade or so working on my mindset and recognizing beliefs that I've got that have been holding me back. And actually, recently, I have just been doing a course in something called Psych-K, which is all about how to master your beliefs and change your beliefs as well. So I just wanted to share a few thoughts about beliefs and how they impact our leadership. And I also wanted to draw on some work that's just been released, a new book called Leadership Unblocked by Muriel Wilkins, which I think's got some really great examples of these sorts of beliefs and how they impact leadership. But to start with, I just wanted to share a framework with you. And actually, this is a quote to start with from Mahatma Gandhi, and it's called The Philosophy for Success. And this is what she says: keep your beliefs positive because your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values become your destiny. And I think this is just such a great way of helping explain what's going on for people, because our beliefs are just fundamental to absolutely everything we do. And I think it's important for us to realize this, because with our team members, if they're not taking action, we tend to often go to the skill set around why they're not taking action, but maybe there's an underlying fundamental belief or something that is going on that's actually stopping them take the action. And I remember when I did some of my initial coach training with Kendall Summerhawk in the US, we were always taught, and we were shared a similar model to this, a similar hierarchy where you go beliefs, go to thoughts, go to words, go to action, go to habits, values, destiny. And she always said, if somebody's stuck at the level of action, you need to go to the level above that and you need to coach on that area. So if, as I said, if somebody's not taking action, it's like maybe it's here in the words of Mahatma Gandhi, what words are they saying to themselves? Maybe the words are, this project's not worth my time. Why am I bothering doing it? And then we might need to go to the thoughts. What are thoughts about why do we think that project isn't worthwhile doing? And then maybe we need to go back to another level. Well, what belief is it around that? The belief might be that doing this type of project is never going to make any difference in the world and it's just a waste of my time. Well, if we've got that belief, we need to unpack it, because as you can see how that's going to influence your actions. So it's really important that we start really thinking about what are our beliefs and how they're impacting the actions that are coming out in the business. Now, I just want to remind you of the fact that a lot of your beliefs, a lot of your programming happens between the ages of 0 to 7. So we will have taken on programming from our parents, from our caregivers, that might not be serving us now. And so it's really important that we spend some time getting some awareness and some clarity around what these beliefs are that we have and seeing if they serve us. I've shared before on another podcast when we've been talking about unconscious bias, that a belief that I had was that you could only be successful in a corporate career if you went to work in a grey or a navy pinstripe suit, right? That was a belief I had because that's what I'd seen my dad do every single day when I was a kid growing up. So that was a belief I had about how what you wore translated into success. And I've shared that I was interviewing somebody very early on in my corporate career. I was hiring somebody into my team. A gentleman turned up for an interview. On paper, he looked amazing, but he turned up in this plum-colored suit. And immediately, where I went was I couldn't take him seriously. He didn't have a grey or navy pinstripe suit on. He would not be successful in the role. So really interesting about how this belief shaped my thoughts about what was going on, then ultimately my actions because I didn't hire him. So this is the importance of beliefs and how they can impact us in business. And I think the thing is with these beliefs, often we don't know that they're holding us back because they're so ingrained. In this particular book, Muriel Wilkins talks about these beliefs as she calls them hidden blockers. And I think that's such a great analogy. As I think about that, I think about things like American football, right? When, you've got, I don't know, the backs, and their role is to stop the forwards getting through and getting to the other side. And it's a bit like that with our beliefs. They're there, they're trying to block everything. They're trying to stop us getting to the success that we actually want. And therefore we get really confused because we don't really know why that's happening. And Carol Dweck, who is a very renowned psychologist, has done a lot of groundbreaking work on mindset. She's the one who came up with the concept of a fixed versus growth mindset. So a fixed mindset is a thought that we can't change. Everything is as it is. Whereas a growth mindset is that you're a bit more like a sponge, that you want to take on everything. You hear you're like continually learning and growing. And we all really want to adopt a growth mindset in the workplace. But what she says is the set of beliefs that we hold about ourselves are the key of our ability to learn, adapt, and grow, and to our performance and results. The bottom line is whether we're aware of it or not, our beliefs affect our outcomes. So, super important that we start understanding what these beliefs are. And in this book, Leadership Unblocked, Muriel Wilkins has studied over 300 leaders, and she codifies the 7 blockers that she typically finds with clients. And as I read this, I really resonated with it, which is why I really wanted to share this with you today. So the first of these is a need to be involved, because I think there's a belief that you want to be part of every detail at every level. And that can lead to micromanagement, bottleneck decisions, and less leverage from your team. So you want to be involved. And we see this quite commonly within business. I really see this a lot with people being promoted into middle management roles. We feel very comfortable in the role that we've previously done. And so we want to keep doing stuff that we no longer need to do, because as we move up the leadership ladder, we need to move from this doing to being and directing. So working on versus in the business. And often I find that managers really spend quite a lot of time working in the business. It's the area that we feel comfortable, because often when we've been promoted, the people that we're managing are doing a role that we used to do. So we know how to do that role. We feel very comfortable in that role. And actually stepping up and actually leading and working on the business is a little bit uncomfortable, which is why so many middle managers that I work with tend to drop into this, I need to be involved. We want to do everything. And of course, when that leads to micromanagement, that becomes a real problem, because it's difficult for our team members to start getting highly engaged when they feel like they're being micromanaged, when they feel that people don't trust them to do the best for the business. And of course, from a leader's perspective, it also means that we create these bottlenecks within the business where nothing can move forward without going through us. And of course, that causes a big problem, because The business can't expand because people are waiting for things from us. So it's a big problem, this bottlenecked decision making for particularly scaling companies. And as I said, it means that we're really not leveraging our team to the best of their advantage. And that can sometimes lead to our team being a bit demotivated and disengaged because they're like, my manager doesn't trust me to get the work done because they want to be involved. They're all over everything. I can't do my job. I don't have any autonomy, and they get really frustrated. Second belief that she identifies is this one: I need it done now. And I don't know about you, but I think we live in a world of instant gratification where people want immediate results, no matter what. And what this can do is it creates a sense of false urgency and rushed execution, and then therefore increased errors and burnout. And I know we notice it with when we send a text to somebody. We get a bit upset if we don't get immediate reply from them. But what I do know to be true is that so often in business, people ask for things and say, I need this by 5 p.m. on Friday. And it's a really unrealistic deadline to do. And often when we really ask the question, do you really need it by 5 p.m. on Friday? Somebody will reflect and go, actually, no, it could be lunchtime Monday. So often the deadlines that we're setting for ourselves in business sometimes aren't realistic and aren't actually true. We don't actually need them at that moment in time. Yet there is an opportunity for the deadline to be extended. But we've got into such a space of just getting stuff done now that we don't negotiate on what those deadlines can be. And that's the same internally within your team, but also externally with your clients. Sometimes our clients give us unrealistic deadlines. And actually, if we go back and talk to them, we can often find out that something quite different is required. The third hidden belief that she comes across is the one, I know I'm right. The belief that you and only you know the answer to the problem at hand. And that can shut down collaboration. It can cause us to dismiss input from other people. And that can lead to missed opportunities and, of course, reduced innovation. Because if our team members don't think that their ideas are going to be valued, they're never going to share different ideas and different perspectives with you. And one of the great things about being on a team is having all of these different perspectives and different ideas. It helps us take the blinkers off the way that we think and give us the opportunity to see things more clearly and diversely. But when you always think that you're right, you shut down all of those opportunities there for learning from other people. So that can be a real problem. The fourth blocker that she notices is, I can't make a mistake. And this is the fact that we believe our performance must be flawless. This encourages unhealthy perfectionism, indecision, and risk avoidance when we think we can't make a mistake. And I remember I really struggled with this when I first set up my business. I remember wearing a little bit of a badge of honor that I had never failed at anything. And actually, when you're running a business, that is such a flawed mindset to come with, because what I know now to be true, having been in business for over a decade, is that the only way that our businesses can grow and we can grow is if we try things out, they don't work, and we get feedback, and then we can change. But when we think that we can't make a mistake, we never experiment. We don't try out new things. We get into this space of perfectionism where we never let anything go out because we're not sure if it's right. And I'm still a recovering perfectionism person. I still have a lot of work across my desk where I was like, oh, that's not quite right. I'm not going to quite put it out. But actually, what we have to do is to try something, get feedback, and then change. It's a very iterative process. And if we wait for something to be right before we make a decision or before we launch a product or service, for example, then we never launch it. And there's a number of times where, as a leader or an owner of a business, we can think, oh, we're not going to let that product go out now. It's not quite right. I'm just going to tweak it a bit more. And then, of course, the problem is one of your competitors launches a similar product and they get it out to the marketplace first, and now they get the market share. And we see in the tech space with companies like Apple, for example, they're always coming up with new ideas for the iPhone, for example. But they put it out there. It's never 100% right. There's always bugs and glitches in it. We often have technology where people are offering it at a reduced price to beta users of it so that we can try it. Because these companies know that the only way that they can make the product better is by getting feedback. So they're not stuck in this limiting belief of I can't make a mistake. They absolutely realize they have to do that in order to move forward. The fifth limiting belief that holds a leader back can be the thought of, if I can do it, so can you. And this is a belief that other people's performance must be like yours. And this can lead us to set unrealistic expectations. But the other thing it can do is it means that we can also underestimate our team members' skills and we can limit their development. Because if we can only do something to a level B, we might think that's what only everyone else can do. And actually, maybe one of your team members is an expert in that, can do it to level A. But if we don't give them the opportunity, because we've underestimated their skills, we're going to limit their development and their opportunities. So it's not always the case that if I can do it, so can you. Sometimes other people can do it better than us. Sometimes they can't do it as well as us. But again, that's what makes the variety within the workplace. The sixth hidden belief is one I come across a lot, which is I can't say no. And this is a belief that we must always step up to the plate when asked, that we can't say no, that we're really poor at setting clear boundaries with people, and it results in overwork. Sometimes it can result ultimately in burnout. It definitely ends up in blurred priorities because we're not sure what we can do, because we're saying yes to everything. And again, I freely admit this is something I really struggled with when I was in my corporate career. Not saying no, taking on way too much work. When my team just didn't have the capacity, I just took on more. And there was a little bit of fear of saying, if I said no, what was going to happen? Maybe I wouldn't be liked. Maybe I would make a mistake because I really wanted to be involved. I think that's maybe one of the things. So there was a link between I can't say no and I want to get involved. I was really suffering from FOMO, fear of missing out. So I'd say yes to everything. And that can cause a real problem because then you're not really sure what you stand for. You're saying yes to everything and you're not saying no to anything. So there's something about boundaries there with I can't say no. And the seventh area she identified was I don't belong here. The belief that you don't fit in at your level. And that can create that incredible, debilitating imposter syndrome and also self-sabotage. And when we don't feel we belong, it can reduce our ability to communicate. Definitely visibility, your personal branding within the organization, and your level of influence. So those are the seven blockers that have identified. And maybe like me, you can identify some of those that are either holding you back now or have held you back in the past. So what do we do when we identify that we've got these blockers? There's a three-step process that is suggested that we use. And the first one is you need to uncover the blocker. So you've got to recognize the problem and name it. Sometimes we don't know what our blockers are. So engaging in something like 360-degree feedback, getting feedback from your team members, your colleagues, your stakeholders, your suppliers, that can be a great way to help you realize what is going on. So it might be that maybe your team are getting really frustrated that you don't make decisions very quickly. And it's only when you get some feedback about that that you realize, why aren't I making decisions quickly? Maybe I've got a fear of getting things wrong, for example. So then you can unpack about what happens. Why have I got a fear of getting things wrong? Well, maybe when you were in school, you got told off if you got things wrong. So now you always want to get things right. And you can see how that's limiting your performance in the workplace because it results in inability to make a decision for your team members. But once you've uncovered the blocker, then you want to unpack the belief behind it. So you want to reflect on where that belief came from and maybe how it once served you, but how it's now limiting you. The need to always be right in school. You can see how maybe that was at that time when you were a little kid growing up, that worked well for you. But right now, as I said, it could stop the level of decision making you make within the organization, and that could curtail your business growth, and that becomes a real problem. And then the third step is to unblock this limiting belief by reframing it into something that's more productive and more positive and can result in some more tangible outcomes for you. So here are some examples to help reframe your thoughts. So if the blocker is I need to be involved, a reframe might be I can do anything, but I can't do everything, right? So you could get involved in everything, but the amount of time we've got a finite amount of time in the day means you can't do everything. I need to get it done. The reframe around that might be I need to focus on what truly matters. What are the competing priorities? What really matters right now? How about I know I'm right? Then the more productive belief to have would be my role is to help others find solutions, not to always give them the answer. Or if the blocker is I can't make a mistake, maybe the more productive belief is my focus is excellence and not avoiding failure. If I can do it, so can you. A more productive belief for that blocker might be what worked for me might not work for everyone. Or if the blocker is I can't say no, the more productive belief would be I can say no to some things. And if the blocker is I don't belong here, a more productive belief would be I belong wherever I am. So I hope you found that insightful, these blockers that can really stop us growing ourselves and our businesses to the next level, and how we really need to go back to the drawing board and really figure out where is that belief coming from, and is it a belief that really serves us right now? Because I go back to the quote that I started with, which is your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. So next time something happens within your business, maybe a team member's not performing or you're struggling with something, I'd really encourage you to not just look externally to the factors that might be impacting that, but also to have a deep dive internally and look at what you need to uncover and unblock about your own beliefs in order to move forward with whatever is going on in your business. So your reflection for this week is to really just start paying attention and realizing and starting uncovering what might be some hidden blockers for you in your business, and how can you reframe those to something more positive that's really going to help fuel you and move the business forward. So until next time, I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.